A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi, and this week we're reaching you from the departure hall of the new terminal of the Muritala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. International airports are major gateways to any country, and country perception via the gateway is always impactful. As Nigeria continues with its 5 airport infrastructure upgrade after the commissioning of the Abuja and Port Harcourt international terminals, which were built under a bilateral funding arrangement between the federal government and the People's Republic of China, it's now the turn of Lagos with a 14 million passengers per annum capacity terminal, which is located on a 56,000 square kilometers of land adjacent the old Muritala Mohammed International Airport. The economic impact of this new terminal is our focus. Our background report is next. In many ways, a modern airport operates like a city. A governing body provides strategic direction and oversees day-to-day management. Airports also provide the resources necessary to care for a fleet of commercial aircraft. Airlines need space for airplanes, facilities for routine maintenance, jet fuel, and places for passengers and flight crew while on the ground. Air freight companies also need space for loading and unloading cargo. Airplanes and pilots and other crew members need runways as well as receive air traffic information. Facilities for aircraft storage and maintenance and places to relax must also be available while on the ground. 9 years ago, Nigeria began the drive to achieve world-class status in its airport infrastructure when it got a $500 million boost via a loan from China to help pay for 4 international airport terminals and an additional airport in Enugu. While those of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja and Port Harcourt International Airport, Rivers State has been completed and operating, it's now the turn of Lagos.
Is an addition to the old terminal. You know, the old terminal is overstretched already, capacity. So we're going to move some of them to this place. Most importantly, it will ease the stress of congestion that we were having at the former terminal. That's our Terminal 1, but this is Terminal 2. This is a world-class facility. It has everything a modern airport has, and the passenger facilitation flow is seamless with modern equipment, self-check kiosk.
The new terminal is an all-glass edifice on the right side inwards the old terminal. With the capacity to process 14 million passengers per annum and built on a landmass of approximately 56,000 square meters, President Muhammadu Buhari does the honors. At the ceremony, the authority did sign a memorandum of understanding with the Lagos State government.
It's about opening up the international corridor of our country and making Nigeria truly, really accessible to the entire world. This is our international gateway. This is where Nigeria meets the international community, and you have given this for us here today. And FAN, representing the Ministry of Aviation, is also something that we are truly, truly, really proud and happy to also be part of. Because what we're about to do is about opening up, other alternative routes that will bring people onto this airport, that will make communication and that will make journey time into this airport, an experience that will be delightful and it will be enjoyable to each and every one of us.
This terminal in Lagos comes with 5 baggage collection carousels, 16 immigration desks at arrival, 28 immigration desks at departure, 6 passenger boarding bridges, of which 2 has already been installed, visa on arrival, and port health facilities, among others. Putting together the terminal also came at a cost. as the Lagos office of the Accident Investigation Bureau had to give way in order to expand the apron.
On our interview segment, we'll bring you highlights from the speech of the Aviation Minister at the commissioning of the Lagos Terminal 2. He highlights the importance of aviation as a critical component of the nation's economy.
Aviation provides the only rapid worldwide transportation network, which makes it essential and most important infrastructure for global logistical ecosystem. It boosts economic growth, creates jobs, and facilitates international trade, commerce, and tourism, ultimately raising the standards of living of the teeming population. Aviation remains the only medium to achieving continental integration and interaction, the dream of the African Union Agenda 2063. A recent aviation sector study for Nigeria by International Air Transport Association IATA in June 2020 showcases the significant contribution of air transportation to the national economy through providing 241,000 jobs, direct and indirect, and a contribution of 1.7 billion to the national economy. However, overall goal is to grow the aviation sector contribution from current 0.6% to 5% approximately, meaning 14.166 billion US dollars. IATA projects the air transport market in Nigeria is focused under the current trend scenario to grow by 174% in the next 20 years. This will result in additional 9.4 billion passenger journeys by 2037. If met, this increased demand would support approximately 4.7 billion US dollar GDP and almost 555,700 jobs. Was developed and graciously approved by Mr. President on 18th of October, which includes the national carrier, airport concession, maintenance and repair overhaul facility, aviation leasing company, agro-allied cargo terminals, as well as aerospace university, and so on. The roadmap projects are being undertaken through PPP, and the ministry has been working very closely with ICRC to ensure we have credible and transparent process that will result in value for money. In particular, the airport concession project, including the newly terminals, has reached advanced stage. The ministry will be issuing requests for proposal to the shortlisted firms before the end of March this year. We also expect to announce a partner in second quarter of 2022 and hand over in Q4 2022. In 2015, the total passenger number was a mere 8 million. With the implementation of some of this roadmap policy, the passenger figure grew to about 18 million in 2019. In 4 years, we grew from 8 to 18 million, making aviation the fastest growing sector of the national economy pre-COVID, according to Federal Ministry of Budget, Finance and National Planning and MBS. Industry has grown leaps and bounds, becoming the third fastest growing sector of this economy, even with COVID. And this is Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. It is important to mention that the country stands to gain significant benefits in restoring and maintaining connectivity within, to, and from the country Nigeria. Analysis from IATA shows that aviation sector provides 341 billion naira GDP contribution. Within the period under review, 160,000 local jobs created and 535 billion expenditure from visitors will be solely generated from restoring and maintaining this connectivity. Consequently, therefore, sir, these are numbers that are at risk if that connectivity is threatened by the continuous travel restrictions due to COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. President, aviation business suffers from issues of access to foreign exchange by local and foreign airlines and the ability to repatriate block funds. Nigeria currently holds $283 million of foreign airline funds in the country. I'd like to humbly request the support of the Central Bank of Nigeria through the directive of Mr. President to prioritize access to foreign exchange for all carriers, both local and foreign, and to work out mechanism to clear the backlog, the existing backlog, and urgently prevent subsequent build-up for the global health of the economy.
Newsflash takes off with the commissioning of the MMIA Terminal 2 in Lagos. This time, President Muhammadu Buhari is directing the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, to fast-track the planned concession of the 4 major airports in the country. The President also asked the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Hamid, to source funds for the immediate construction of a second runway for the Abuja airport.
Consequently, the Minister of Aviation has been directed to fast-track the airport concession program. Similarly, the Abuja second runway is being fast-tracked. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning has been directed to source sufficient funding for the project, while the Minister of FCT is directed to conclude the tiling of the approved 12,000 hectares of land to accommodate the runway and other development projects. Bearing in mind the importance of airport infrastructure as a catalyst for economic growth, foreign direct investment, and development globally, this administration decided to prioritize the completion and delivery of 5 brand new international terminals, which were at 11% completion level when we came into power in 2015.
Fully vaccinated inbound travelers would no longer be required to take a pre-departure PCR COVID-19 test. The federal government said they would, however, be subjected to rapid antigen tests at the airport by the NCDC within the arrival hall of the airport free of charge. The decision was coming after the complaints by many travelers over the cost placed on the PCR test. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the Chairman, Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, disclosed this at the national briefing of the committee in Abuja.
Inbound, fully vaccinated passengers arriving in Nigeria will no longer be required to take a pre-departure PCR COVID test from their countries of departure. 2, on arrival, for fully vaccinated passengers, a sample will be taken at the airport for rapid antigen test by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control within the arrival hall of the airport. 3, passengers who are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated shall take a COVID-19 PCR test 48 hours before departure from any location on the globe and do a day 2 and a day 7 test on arrival. Such passengers will be expected to pay for their PCR tests through the travel platform. 4, fully vaccinated passengers will not be charged for arrival rapid antigen tests at the airport. 5, rules that apply to fully vaccinated adults also apply to children aged 10 to 18. They will not be required to have a pre-arrival PCR test, but will have a sample taken at the arrival hall, but not to be charged. 6, all passengers traveling out of Nigeria are encouraged to be fully vaccinated and to fully comply with the COVID-19 protocols and requirements in their country of destination. And 7, the Presidential Steering Committee continues to strongly recommend the use of face masks in enclosed environments. In open space areas, the use of face masks becomes discretionary.
When Aviation This Week returns, our feature for the week is next. Do join us again.
Retired aircraft line this tarmac, waiting to be dismantled. Various workers move air ramp across the tarmac. As COVID-19 grounds a large number of airline fleet, accelerated plane retirements is somewhat creating a room for profits for companies that thrive on dismantling and trade of aircraft parts.
This is an Airbus 310 that we started the harvesting of parts and the decontamination of this specific aircraft.
Canada's Aerocycle is bidding to buy grounded planes for the first time to dismantle and resell for parts instead of just recycling.
Behind there are bags, and what we're doing that's kind of special, that's why we just started doing it. The insulation that you see here in the walls, we've given this to a company in Quebec that manufactures electric buses, and they want to reuse the insulation bags for their buses. So we're trying that out right now.
While companies involved in the trade see opportunities in parked planes, a sudden increase in the supply of used parts risks depressing prices in the estimated $3 billion a year industry. With aviation remaining in a slump because of the pandemic, the fate of the world's pool of grounded planes is being closely watched by players in the market for used serviceable materials.
They're going to have to make certain financial decisions and cut their losses. Try and maximize the value of getting a certain value for the aircraft now versus next year. You know, no one knows what the actual market, how the market predictions are going to be, right? So, you know, if certain aircrafts are available now and they're priced right, that's where we're going to make the move to possibly purchase them.
The number of planes dismantled for parts or scrap could double to 1,000 annually through 2023. That's up from roughly 400 to 500 planes a year since 2016.
I think companies like ourselves are going to take certain precautions on harvesting parts off different types of airplanes to make sure that, you know, we're investing our money on removing parts that are, you know, in high demand. There's no rush for us to harvest parts off an aircraft. It could take a bit longer to make sure that our return on investment is a low risk. And, you know, if we need a part within 48 hours, we can get a part removed and, you know, AOG or shipped to whoever's requesting that part, right? So for us, it's more about being cautious on how we're harvesting parts off which aircraft. Versus before, it was a bit more open, so we would harvest more parts and keep them in inventory. Now, we're just going to, you know, again, make sure we measure our risks on removing what parts off what aircraft.
Airplane recycling pertains to the process of harvesting parts and materials from end-of-life aircraft. As the airline industry looks to become more eco-friendly as well as to cut costs, one area of increasing interest is that of aircraft recycling. With 12,000 aircraft scheduled to be decommissioned over the next 2 decades, recycling will play a larger role.
Aviation provides the only rapid worldwide transportation network, which makes it essential for global business. It also generates economic growth, creates jobs, and facilitates international trade and tourism. In the aviation mix, sustaining a viable airline industry is important, and this cannot exist without airworthy aircraft, and what is also described as continuing airworthiness of this craft. For passengers who travel every day, this is their description of aircraft safety.
The flight coming back to base is for their safety. When a pilot attempts some maneuvers and find out that he cannot continue, before he returns back to base is a very hard decision to make. But basically, if he has seen that to the best of the interest of the passengers and the safety of his flight, he will return you back to base. He's not doing that because he doesn't know what to do, but he doesn't want to risk it. He would not prefer doing it 50-50.
The scariest moment is when during rainy season, when you are in higher altitude, you lose altitude. Definitely everybody screams and calling Jesus and Allah. So naturally you feel it. That's my scariest moment during rainy season when you enter turbulence.
Away from passengers to a hangar facility in Lagos, where the top bus here takes us through a D-check currently going on an helicopter as part of a maintenance schedule.
This is an Augusta 139 helicopter, an 8 years inspection. It's the highest level of maintenance that can ever take place on this aircraft as approved by the manufacturer of this aircraft and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA. It's a 12-seater with crew 14-seater helicopter, one of the best and the fastest here, stripping off of the engines, removing the engine, the gearbox, the entire cockpit, the instruments, the entire flight controls.
So what exactly is airworthiness and continued airworthiness?
Airworthiness is the heartbeat of aviation. If an aircraft is not airworthy, you can't fly it. You can't even start the engine. So, but one thing we must get is that the continuing airworthiness of any aircraft is the responsibility of the operator. This is key for us to understand. Because the operator has the responsibility to ensure that the aircraft is airworthy. If there's any, God forbid, any plane crash or any incident, the person that the customers talk to is the operator, not the civil aviation. So if I rigged a particular aircraft engine, I'm licensed, 20, 30 years experience, fine, but somebody else must come and check if what I did is correct and countersign and put his or her license number there and full name. So what I do today on any aircraft as an aircraft engineer, 5, 10 years later, if that aircraft has issues, it can be traced to me because there's a record.
The airworthiness of an aircraft is concerned with the standards of safety incorporated in all aspects of its construction. The big birds usually go through checks across all components.
Engines are driven, some aspects of the engines are on and they are on hard time. That means you cannot run them beyond their approved life. If the manufacturer says this engine should run for 3,000 cycles, that means 3,000 landings, 3,000 flights. You can't do 3,001. So there is that other aspect. But there's this other aspect that says if an engine is on ground, you must run it every 10 days to make sure that the engine is still in good shape. So in the first scenario, when you say 3,000 landings, and therefore you can't run the engine beyond 3,000 landings, that is hard time.
The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority's functions and oversight of all the airworthiness includes air transport operators and approved maintenance organizations.
I want the traveling public to understand the NCA is ensuring continuous airworthiness of all the aircrafts that fly in Nigeria. We do check them. We ensure they go through the due maintenance, and when they do, they bring the records, we cross-check and confirm before we sign the airworthiness certificates. That's what we do through our surveillance, through our oversight. When these aircrafts come from maintenance, we go through the maintenance checklist and the maintenance records and ensure whatever is due is included in the maintenance. And when that is done, we cross-check them. And we do RAM checks, we do spot checks, we check the aircraft's systems. We do a lot of things, and that's what we call our surveillance.
No aircraft can operate without a certificate of airworthiness, and this is issued for an aircraft by the National Aviation Authority in the state in which the aircraft is registered. These certificates attest that the aircraft is airworthy insofar as the aircraft conforms to its type design.
This is our final call on the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. Next week is another date. See you then. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.